Hey, fourth grade. Today in Alabama history, we're starting chapter 11, section 4, the Cold War, and the Cold War led to the Korean conflict. Here you can see that the Soviet Union after World War II was divided into two different sections, North Korea, South Korea. And Soviet Union was in charge of protecting North Korea, and the U.S. protected South Korea. The North Koreans were more communist, and South Koreans were more democratic. Let's review. So far, we have learned about Alabamians in the war, the Tuskegee Airmen, General Holland Smith, who was in charge of amphibious warfare in World War II, and General Franklin Hart. There were also women played very important roles in World War II also, and one of the main roles they played was that they took the jobs of the men as they went off to war. We learned who was allies and who was enemies in the war. Allied powers, the friends, the friendlies, U.S., France, and Soviet Union. The Axis powers, the enemies, Germany, Italy, and Japan. We learned about the many Air Force bases and their contributions to the war. We learned that textile, steel, and aluminum plants played an important part in the war too. All right, remember just a minute ago when I was talking about communism and democracy? A communist society is a type of government and philosophy where everything is shared equally. No one really owns anything. The government owns everything, and the government tells you everything to do. They literally control you. Democracy. The people get a say in how the government is run, and they do this by voting. This is what a democracy is. The United States, we live in a democracy. Our objective for today is to identify major world events that influenced Alabama since 1950, including the Korean conflict and the Cold War. Essential question: how did countries' beliefs and ideas lead to the Cold War? That's our EQ. The Cold War leads to the Korean conflict. You need to know these terms: democratic, communist, Cold War, and truce. After World War II, the relationship between the United States and Soviet Union grew tense. The beliefs in the U.S. were democratic and that people should have a lot of freedom and rights. The Soviet Union's beliefs were of a communist government. They believed that citizens should have fewer rights and freedoms. China became an ally of the Soviet Union. The Cold War. Differences in the viewpoints of countries was a big problem. The Soviet Union worked to force other countries to communism. The United States was against this, and a Cold War developed. The Cold War made people worry about atomic attacks, atomic bombs. No actual fighting took place between the countries. There was fighting between other countries, and nuclear weapons were used to threaten each other. The Korean conflict. Korea was divided into two parts after World War II. The United States protected the southern part, and the Soviet Union protected the north part. You can see that here. Soviet Union became communist government. South Korea, U.S. protected, and then they became a democratic government. In 1950, the North, secretly helped by the Soviet Union, attacked the South. China joined the war on the side of North Korea. Troops from many other countries, including the United States, came to aid the South. A truce was signed in 1953. Over 35,000 Americans died. 771 of those were from Alabama. Korea is divided into two countries, even today.